Hey everyone, it's your girl Maddie here, aka Beaver Mosh, and today I am joined by Levi of Living Gate, whose new record, Suffer as One, is coming out on Relapse Record on October 25th. Now, Levi, as I listened to the record, the first thing that I noticed was the record, it's heavy. Like it has no breaks, no moments of like silence. Was your goal kind of set out to create the ugliest sort of metal record you could?
Uh, Kind of. I mean, that's one way of putting it. We definitely wanted something that, without a lot of breathing room.
Hmm.
I mean, there's one bass intermezzo of about a minute that gives you some space to catch your breath, but
Yeah,
other than that, we really, I mean, it's a death metal record, so
yeah.
it's fast and it's loud and it's chaotic. And that's what we wanted to achieve. Um, while at the same time, like putting enough variation in there, just not making it um, like one song that repeats 10 times and it's the same stuff over and
Sure.
over again. We really wanted to play with different, tempos, different vibes here and there. And yeah, we're all very happy with how it turned out in the end.
Yeah. Now, the band itself, it's composed of members from various other projects, Yob, Oathbreaker, Wiegedood. How did you all kind of come together, find each other, and decide you wanted to start this more old school death metal project, very different from the rest of your projects? How did that come to be?
Well, me, Leonard, and Wim obviously have known each other for a long time, playing in all these different kind of bands, Wiegedood, Oathbreaker. So we all knew each other, and like me and Leonard always kind of fantasized about doing this one day. And Wim was an obvious choice to take on the drums. And then, but we never, yeah, bass players, like good technical bass players are hard to find. And then I think back in 2019, me and Wim went on tour with Yob with Wiegedood for about a month in Europe, so we got to know Aaron. And then later on, me and Leonard went on a US tour with Yob with Amenra. So he got to know him as well. And I don't know, this just crazy idea grew in our minds of like, why not ask Aaron? Because we've been all nerding out about technical death metal while we were on tour, and we just had a good connection with each other,
Yeah.
and we knew it was going to be, difficult since he's on a different continent. But yeah, we just popped the question, and he was super excited, and yeah, that was it.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I mean, is it going to be complicated in terms of playing live together, considering that he's in North America?
Yeah, that's one factor that makes it kind of difficult a bit because there's always, either three of us fly to the US or he has to come to Europe.
Yeah.
And then also factoring in the fact that we all have other bands that kind of demand our attention and
Mhm.
demand a big chunk of our time. So it's definitely not easy for us to come together and play and write and tour. But we're all super happy. Like we kind of took the time to make this record,
Yeah.
and we're leaving on tour in about a week and a half to support the record over here in Europe, and yeah, we're all just super excited.
Sweet. Now I'm really interested in talking about kind of comparing with you being in, another primary project of yours is Wiegedood, and that being more of a black metal project. Living Gate is obviously a very much different outlet than that. As a guitarist and a vocalist, what do you personally get out of being able to perform these songs, these Living Gate tracks versus when you're playing in a black metal band?
Um, Well, it's different in the sense that it's technically more challenging.
Sure.
It's a different way of singing, which I kind of had to figure out as well. Um, but it's very enjoyable to kind of push yourself to your limit of your technical capabilities.
Sure.
Which already happens in a way in Wiegedood a little bit, but it's just a different style of playing. It's a little bit more meticulous in a sense. And you're with Wiegedood, we're looking for a different kind of atmosphere, or atmosphere on its own is a bigger part of the music, while
Hmm.
with death metal we can really focus on the riff,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I have a quote from you. Death metal is the most extreme version of heavy music. Now, I agree. I agree. I think that, but
Mhm.
do you want to expound on that? Why do you think that?
Um, I think it's just like, I mean, um, metal, like the whole genre metal has grown so big and has become so almost mainstream. Like if you look at the big festivals like Hellfest and Walk on Open Air here over here in Europe, it's hundred thousands of people almost. Like so,
Yeah.
you can't really call metal on its own an underground genre anymore. It hasn't been for a while, but there's still like these side branches of subgenres like black metal and death metal and that that are too extreme for a lot of people, that even if they like heavy music, like that's where they draw the line
Yeah.
somehow. And I think death metal is the most, it's, for example, my girlfriend, she likes she's into heavy music and she likes most of the stuff that I do, but Living Gate is kind of where she draws the line. I mean, she appreciates what we do,
Yeah.
and she sees the, you know, she sees the value in it, but it's not her thing,
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's just one step too far, and I think that it's like that for a lot of people. And then people who are into it are like obsessed with it for some
Yeah.
reason, it's like they're very nerdy about it, and it's I don't know, it's something that has to click, and it doesn't click with everybody for sure.
No. No. And you're right. Like there are very popular metal bands, but
Hmm.
people's perception of metal doesn't always go to like you and I when we're thinking of like bands that maybe have like 500 listeners on Spotify, but
Hmm.
we're obsessed with because they are very extreme and punishing, but that's not what everyone is looking for when they go into metal music.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like the word punishing is a good word to use here. I think it's
yeah,
yeah, some people just they want to be comforted by music, they want to be able to nod along, and they want to be able to just, vibe on it, and when it's technical and when it's super fast and kind of noisy at points, it becomes uncomfortable and challenging to listen to. And I think that's when a lot of people kind of uh, say that's where it stops.
I love like taking a walk and listening to like a very intense, maybe challenging or technical death metal record because just like it's so much that I can only focus on the music and it just takes me out of the world and I can just kind of be in my own space, but that's
Mhm.
not the experience that a lot of people are looking for.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's and I like both really. Like I like music that doesn't really uh like demand too much of your focus, and it leaves some space to have your mind wander off. And then
Yeah.
I also like a lot of music that really demands your full attention, and you kind of have to um allow yourself to, yeah, to fully focus on the music and what's going on, and that if you listen to it once, it's very challenging, and if you listen to it 50 times, you still hear like, oh, I didn't hear that before,
Yeah.
or was that there before? So I really like both. Like, I mean, I don't want to pretend that like I always need complexity and and stuff like that in music, but it's nice to have a balance between those two, you know?
Yeah. Um, there's an interesting fact about this record that I saw kind of reading into the press materials about it, and you intentionally didn't use a metronome to record this, and then I think that's fascinating. Can you explain the reasoning behind that?
Well, the thing is, I've never recorded an album with a metronome before. And neither has our drummer, and I don't think we ever will, because I don't know, we're not used to it. We're not accustomed to it really,
Sure.
and not to, ring our own bell, or how do you say that? But our drummer, like Wim, is a super tight drummer, and you can always almost put a metronome on there afterwards, and it's gonna kind of stick, you know. So, and I think that comes from playing without one for so long,
Mhm.
um, and we just also like we wanted kind of a human feel to the record as well, where if you
Yeah.
put everything on a grid and you replace every kick and you put it on the count, or it 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 can start to sound very sterile,
Yeah.
and in some um if you're a band like Nile who plays at 230 240 BPM, it's you have to have that almost, or it becomes unlistenable, or and it's an art form on its own. But we kind of wanted to have the human factor in there still, and leave in some dynamics. It's like
Yeah.
if you would, not that we're Jimi Hendrix, but if you would put a metronome on Jimi Hendrix or have him play to a metronome, it would sound horrible, because you've just taken all the dynamics out of it, and
Yeah.
not to pretend we're anywhere near his, musical
Yeah.
capabilities, but just, the vibe changes
Yeah.
very much.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, when you think of Jimi Hendrix, there's that kind of that bluesy element, that swung element that's kind of intentionally supposed to be a little behind the beat. So that makes complete,
Exactly,
yeah,
yeah. He'll drag and he'll push at the right time,
yeah.
uh
Mhm.
and again, if you're playing like almost, industrially tight, fast death metal, it has to be it. I enjoy that as well, as much as I do the more organic sound, where it's just, almost, yeah, where it feels inhuman, I can enjoy that from time to time as
Yeah.
well, but that's just not how we're used to recording and how we're used to making music. So we kind of stuck with what feels comfortable for us.
Yeah, and what I really love and appreciate about it is that while it does give the record that very old school organic feel, this record is kind of technical at points, and you even alluded that, you wanted to add some of the elements, but you are able to forgo that, very mechanical sound that sometimes more technical death metal bands can fall into.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely try to push our limits when it comes to technicality and speed, and we definitely like try to find what's the turning point where we or the tipping point where we can't play decently anymore, or where it becomes too much for us. And it's a lot of fun, like trying to push that boundary. And I hope if we do another album, like we can push it a little bit more, and grow like that.
Yeah. The cover, it's pink.
Yeah.
That is
I
I
think a
mean,
lot of, yeah.
There, when I think of like pink metal records, the first one that comes to mind is I think it's Psalm 9. I forgot what Psalm it is by Trouble, but like there's not a lot of
Mhm.
like iconic pink metal album covers. You want to
Yeah.
talk about why you went with that direction? Yeah.
Because we like being not obvious about things
Yeah.
sometimes. I like stuff that's a death metal record is not supposed to be pink. So in our minds, it's automatically like what we're drawn to. Like when Marl sent us the draft, like one of the final drafts, and he had added the pink, all of us were really excited about it. It's because it's not supposed to be like that.
Mm.
Any other band or a lot of other bands or people would go like, all right, it's cool, but take out the pink and make it red or make it, make it a death metal color. But uh we really like going just being upside down about stuff like that and yeah.
Sick. Yeah, I like the play on expectation there. I think it's fun and interesting. Um, you
Yeah, it's
are
like the spiritual healing album from Death. It's
That's right.
also
Yes,
it,
yes.
it doesn't look death metal at all. I mean it has kind of a, I would, like, if you didn't know the album, you would say like it's a trash metal record or something, but definitely not a, it doesn't have like the Cannibal Corpse vibe of it's not gory or it's with the
No.
blue and the ministers. It's yeah. And I like that. It kind of pops out and stands out from the rest.
Um, you are touring this record, playing some festivals. Now, I know you did have a tour kind of cut short in 2020 because
Mhm.
of COVID. So how important is it for you to actually be able to properly now take this record on the road?
Yeah, it feels kind of like a reboot of the band almost, It's because when the EP came out, COVID hit, and like literally a week after the EP came out, and yeah, we could see from a mile away that the tour that we had planned wasn't happening. Um, and it was kind of a bummer to be to be
Yeah.
honest, And then when restrictions with COVID kind of loosened up again, we all have other bands that were also waiting for that shit to pass over. So
Yeah.
then we had to kind of do stuff with those bands, and Living It got pushed to the background a bit again. So it feels really good to finally kind of reintroduce ourselves to the world and do it with a full length album and getting to play live shows. Yeah, it's a great feeling.
Hell yeah. And last thing I wanted to ask you was lyrically, you talk about that while this album does, it deals with suffering. The album is called Suffer as One. You kind of hint that overall it has a positive message. And can you kind of talk about how that can and is the case?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, it depends a bit on song to song. Like, it's not like it's a concept album that really only focuses on the theme of the record title. Um, but um, there's a lot of positivity in there in the sense that it's kind of a call to be aware that in the end, like, humanity as a species is one big entity,
Yeah.
and we all have our different backgrounds, and we all have our uh cultural differences and our own upbringings, and we all have very different struggles we go through in
Yeah.
life. But in the end, like, it's kind of a calling to kind of uh you know meet each other in the middle and have kind of respect for each and everyone's struggles and kind of lift each other up in them instead of,
Yeah.
pointing and there's so much hate and there's so much negativity about whatever, there's just the world is just constantly blaming each other and constantly pointing fingers and putting the emphasis on the negative side of things, while
Yeah.
in the end we could also be lifting each other up instead of pushing each other down, and we could take on that suffering as a whole, as a big entity, instead of, leaving each other to deal with their shit on their own.
Yeah. It's a fucked up world. It really is, but it's I like the idea that maybe someday that there's a world where we kind of see each other not as like enemies, but as people that kind of come together and want to like universally help each other. And I think we're far from that,
Exactly.
but it's a nice thing to think about that that is a possibility.
Exactly. It's definitely a work in progress, and there's
Yeah.
a lot of people trying to uh, keep that way of living standing and keep people, in fear and keep people down, but let's hope. I mean, there's a lot of positive sides to it as well, and there's a lot of people coming together and growing and understanding other people and accepting other people, and it's just, let's hope we can, collectively evolve in that direction instead of the other one. It's there's a lot of it's a difficult task to, to change people's minds, but I think in the end, like, um being open to other opinions and other facts and stuff like that would be like a big help. It would be great if people would take the time to listen to each other from time to time instead of like pushing their own uh agenda on everybody. It could mean a lot, yeah. So let's hope
Yeah.
we can evolve in a positive direction.
Well, Levi, thank you so much for taking the time to do this with me. It was a pleasure. For everyone watching at home, make sure you look out for the new Living Gate record, Suffer as One, coming out on Relapse Record on October 25th. As always, thank you to my patrons. You keep the show running. My name is Maddie, aka Beaver Mosh, and I'm out of here. Bye.